folks at Marvel Studios sure know how to hire the right actors and create the perfect costumes for their characters. There are plenty of MCU actors that look exactly like the superheroes they're portraying from the comics. It's crazy, while others look absolutely nothing like them. Before we begin, subscribe to CBR and ring that bell to join our notification squad so you never miss a video. Without further ado, here are some MCU actors who look nothing like their characters, and some who are spot on.
Bring me Thanos!
Chris Hemsworth is literally the perfect Thor. Besides the winged helmet, Hemsworth fits all of Thor's other characteristics to a T. He's tall, blonde, and handsome, so you knew he would be perfect in that role. Hemsworth's facial features are spot on, and his deep voice and accent only add to the character and make you truly believe he's from Asgard. Marvel Studios are known for their grueling casting process, but this is exactly why they're so meticulous about everything. We hope Hemsworth renews his contract with Marvel since it ends after Avengers 4, but seeing as he's already opened up talks with the studio about keeping the role, the future is looking good. Killmonger was such an amazing antagonist in Black Panther, mainly due to Michael B. Jordan's great performance, but he doesn't resemble the character at all. Despite this, Jordan's Killmonger was just as terrifying as the one we see in the comics. In the comics, Eric Killmonger, also known as Najanika, is a humongous man that would have needed CGI to replicate. This is probably why Marvel Studios turned Killmonger into a normal person who could be played by Jordan. While we're sure a true to the comics Killmonger would have been rad, Jordan did an incredible job with the character. He was able to show how strong Killmonger was without being a mammoth of a man.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Benedict Cumberbatch looks so much like Doctor Strange, it's actually shocking. From his hairstyle to the beard to the mystical cloak, the MCU absolutely nailed it. Now, there's a lot that goes into getting a character down perfectly. The costume, hair, and makeup are super important, but they're not everything. You could look the part all you want, but if you can't act like the character, it won't matter at all. Benedict not only looks exactly like Doctor Strange, but he could act like him too. Director Scott Derrickson wanted to cast Cumberbatch so bad he actually convinced Marvel Studios to change the filming start date. They knew they had their guy. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was a great movie, where we got to see a lot of the character Ego as a human played by Kurt Russell. A lot of the end of the film was inside the planet's nervous system, but we didn't get to see Ego in the same form as in the comics. In the Marvel Comics, we've seen Ego quite a few times. He's interacted with Thor on multiple occasions. Ego is known for being a giant purple sentient planet, but we don't get to see him like this at all in the movie. We know he is the planet, but he isn't a planet, you know?
Please don't tell me there's a 12-year-old kid waiting in the car that I've never met.
Some would argue that Robert Downey Jr. is the godfather of the MCU. After all, it was his Iron Man trilogy that really helped the MCU take off. A big part of his success as Iron Man is how accurately he portrays the hero. It's like he actually is Iron Man. Iron Man's iconic red and gold suit is maintained from the comics in the MCU, but it's Robert Downey Jr. who makes his character shine. Just like Robert Downey Jr. in real life, Tony Stark is an ingenious millionaire playboy. They couldn't have gotten a better actor to play Iron Man. It would have been a disaster if the movie flopped with another actor. Everyone was shocked when we all learned that Tilda Swinton would be playing the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. Last time we checked, she wasn't an old Tibetan man, so why was she chosen? People immediately criticized the decision and accused Marvel of whitewashing the Ancient One, but director Scott Derrickson said that he never even wanted to mimic the original character. Derrickson says that the original Ancient One was based off of an old American stereotype of Eastern people and wanted to avoid that stereotype at all costs. It's actually a really valid point. Fans are complaining about the character being whitewashed, but it's actually to avoid an even bigger controversy.
Is this a test?
There may be a few differences here and there between Chris Evans' Captain America and the one from the comics, but they look so similar it's mind-blowing. The timeline of Captain America's story also allows us to see how his uniform evolves over time. We've seen the classic Captain America outfit with the wings on his head and all in Captain America the First Avenger, and over time, we've seen how he has turned into the Cap he is today. Now we have a Captain America that resembles the one in the more recent comics. Along with his famous shield, this is Evans' cap that we've come to know and love. The M'Baku, played by Winston Duke in Black Panther, looks nothing like the original M'Baku from the comics, and that's probably for the better. The original M'Baku hasn't aged well, and thankfully, Marvel quickly tossed the old ape-man depiction out the window. Very wise choice. Duke gave us a more complex and interesting character than the original could have ever been anyway. M'Baku is one of the most interesting characters in the movie, even though he started off as an opponent of T'Challa's. He quickly sees the bigger picture and becomes an ally, something the original M'Baku would never have done. M'Baku helps T'Challa defeat Eric Killmonger in the end.
Darby, could you just take care of this idiot? Thanks.
Paul Rudd is absolutely hilarious, which made him the perfect actor to play the pint-sized superhero known as Ant-Man. It's just a perfect fit with his style of comedy, and he brought the character to life in a really unique way. We don't just love the personality Paul Rudd brings to Ant-Man, we also find he looks a lot like his comic counterpart. The helmet is on point and looks even cooler than the one Ant-Man wears in the comics. The red and silver suit is still there, but the helmet has been modernized and looks incredible. We think Marvel got the right guy to play the miniature superhero. The Grandmaster, played by Jeff Goldblum in Thor Ragnarok, and the one in the Marvel comics have a huge difference: the blue skin. In the comics, the Grandmaster is a blue alien humanoid with white hair, but in the MCU, he just has some unique hair and a bit of makeup. The creepy, blue, all-powerful Grandmaster of the comics just wouldn't have worked in the movie. The comic book character is too serious for a playful film, which is why Goldblum was amazing for his role as Grandmaster. The hair and the blue line of paint on his face were a nod to the original character, so it's not like Goldblum's rendition is completely different.
Mercy! Every breath you take is mercy from me.
Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther and the Black Panther from the comics are so similar, it's incredible. There wasn't a single detail left behind. Sure, Boseman resembles T'Challa physically, but it's really the Black Panther suit that makes him stand out. From the claws to the bone necklace to his silver eyes and cat ears, the suit looks amazing. He also looks very lean and muscular in the suit, which is quite impressive. Black Panther was one of the most successful MCU movies of all time, so we're glad he looks a lot like the Black Panther from the comics. We hope he comes to life for Avengers 4. Casting Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie for Thor Ragnarok turned out to be a great decision. She was a breakout star in the film, and it showed that Marvel isn't afraid to shake things up every now and then. Like most Asgardians, Valkyrie is a tall blonde in the comics, but Thompson brought something different to the character. She was rough around the edges and brought some comic relief to an already playful movie. Thompson is even getting her very own comic rendering. We loved this fresh Valkyrie Marvel created, and her comic book counterpart does look exactly like her. It's good to see it all come around full circle in the end.
Are you ever not going to fall for that?
When it comes to villains, Tom Hiddleston's Loki is one of the most popular supervillains in the MCU. The mischievous god is brought to life by Hiddleston, who not only looks the part, but acts it as well. For starters, he already looks like Loki from the comics without even wearing the outfit. The long dark hair of Hiddleston's is very reminiscent to the comic version of the character. The MCU also spared no expense by giving him his signature green and gold outfit with a beautiful headpiece that's spot on. Hiddleston may have still been amazing even without the incredible costume work, but we're glad Marvel did what they did. We can't help but think Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye costume was a huge missed opportunity for Marvel. Now, Hawkeye might not be the most important Avenger, but they could have put a bit more effort to make him look like the comic book character. Hawkeye actually looked like a superhero in the comics, not just a guy with a bow like he is in the MCU. His purple costume and mask make him look more like Batman, but a Batman that prefers archery. Hawkeye is a skilled archer who's very acrobatic and freakishly strong, yet he doesn't look or act like this in the MCU. Many people believe Hawkeye is the worst Avenger, and we're also a little on the fence.
It's subtle, all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, it's called being a badass.
Another great casting choice was Don Cheadle as War Machine. Marvel must have made note of every single detail in the comics, because War Machine looks incredible. Starring along with Iron Man, who's played perfectly by Robert Downey Jr., is no easy task, but Cheadle showed that he had plenty of acting skills of his own and held it down as a superhero. If you compare the armor of War Machine from the comics to the films, they're almost exactly the same, with a few differences here and there. In fact, the Iron Man trilogy in general has done a fantastic job of sticking to the source material. We certainly appreciate the toned-down costume of Elizabeth Olsen as the MCU's version of Scarlet Witch, but a badass red leather jacket still isn't enough for this heroine. With so many well-thought-out costumes all across the MCU, we feel like Olsen deserves better. She even said she would love her own movie if it comes with a costume upgrade. Seeing as the word Scarlet is in her name, we feel like her costume could use a bit more red. Come on, Marvel, give the girl some red pants! This just feels like another missed opportunity to us. We love the character, but the costume does nothing for us.
Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
Before casting Samuel L. Jackson to play as Nick Fury, the character was always Caucasian. Comic book writer Mark Miller redrew the character as Samuel L. Jackson, which got Marvel interested. There's a running joke that pretty much every popular movie has Samuel L. Jackson in it, and Marvel must have wanted to get in on that as well. At the time, in 2001, Marvel was just coming back from bankruptcy, so it was just a pipe dream to cast Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, but it quickly became a reality. In fact, Miller actually apologized for using Jackson's likeness without permission, but Jackson didn't mind, because look where he is now. When we saw Daniel Bruhl's Zemo in Captain America Civil War, we were confused to say the least. We're used to seeing him in his purple, black, and gold faceless uniform, but instead we just see him in a boring, regular attire. He looked so different from the Zemo in the comics, and even his motivations and timeline were completely off as well. We honestly wonder why they even used him instead of another new villain. We just find it very odd, because this Zemo is completely unrecognizable. That being said, Marvel tends to humanize their villains to add depth to their often ridiculous backstories, and this is just another case of why that works.
Oh my God!
Red Herondal, until Infinity War that is, Scarlett Johansson is the perfect Black Widow. Most actresses would have put a wig and a black suit on, but not ScarJo. She really makes Black Widow her own character over her countless MCU appearances. Costume-wise, she looks very similar to the Black Widow from the comics, with signature black catsuit and red hair. She also acts exactly like the Black Widow from the comic books. She may come across as heartless and cold at times, while also keeping her loyalties as she sees fit. It's that bad girl vibe that we love about Black Widow, and we hope she gets her own movie soon.
What the f?
When we knew Marisa Tomei was going to play Aunt May in Spider-Man Homecoming, it didn't make any sense to us. If you're familiar with the comics, Aunt May has always been an older, white-haired woman who takes care of Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. We've seen a shift in her age over the movies, and it was very apparent when we saw Tomei play the character. Marisa Tomei looks absolutely nothing like Aunt May. Have you seen her? She's so beautiful, and it's actually the topic of a few jokes in the movie. Tony Stark even hits on Aunt May right in front of Peter a few times. Talk about awkward.
You bet your ass.
Steve, you said a bad language word.
One thing that has never changed about superheroes is most of them are good-looking and ripped, especially the on-screen versions of your favorite Marvel characters in the MCU. You'd be surprised at what Marvel actors have to do to get swole for their roles, and we're here to let you know that you could end up looking just like Thor. Or you could not follow their intense and grueling workouts and become Fat Thor. That works too. Chris Evans is in pretty good shape, and he didn't have to get injected with super soldier serum to look like that either. That's the scary thing. He's been hitting the gym for nearly 10 years to get in shape to play Captain America, and it's definitely working for him. He didn't just get in shape either, he stayed in shape. What Evans does in the gym may shock you because he's constantly doing all different kinds of exercises. He doesn't really have one strict routine. It's not CrossFit, it's not a bodybuilding workout, and it doesn't focus on powerlifting. Instead, Chris Evans does a bunch of different exercises like pull-ups, and of course, classic bicep curls. What's surprising about his workout is how simple it is. You could go into any local gym and do them all by yourself, but probably with some lighter weights. Over time, you can work up to becoming a beast like Chris Evans. Speaking of the name Chris, why don't we take a look at another hunk with the same first name in Chris Hemsworth? If you've seen any of the movies Thor's in, well, other than Endgame, then you know Hemsworth works his butt off to get in shape for the role. Have you seen his arms? They could give Hulk Hogan's 24-inch pythons a run for their money. Unsurprisingly, Hemsworth never skips arms day. His trainer makes him work out his arms as much as possible without overdoing it. In fact, the bicep workout he does is completely insane. He's got these muscles working overtime, that's for sure. The God of Thunder knows how to bring the thunder in the gym. While Chris Hemsworth is already a pretty big dude, he's not always jacked. He tends to put on about 20 pounds of muscle to play Thor and slims down a little bit when he's not filming. Let's get into the final Chris in this video, the third Chris, Chris Pratt. He's a guy who's undergone a heck of a transformation to go from chubby comedian and Parks and Recreation star to Star-Lord of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Just to warm up, Pratt takes a 3-mile trail run before he does 3 sets of 120-yard hill sprints. Yeah, just saying that is making us feel exhausted. Whew. Then he went through an intense training regimen for Guardians of the Galaxy, where he worked for 3 to 4 hours a day and ended up losing around 60 pounds in 6 months. Absolutely incredible, Chris. He also had to give up alcohol and limit himself to a 4,000-calorie-a-day low-carb diet. On top of all this, he even did swimming, boxing, P90X, running, kickboxing, and so much more. This all just goes to show you that if you put your mind to it, anything is possible. While Robert Downey Jr. plays Iron Man, who's one of the few heroes without superpowers, meaning he doesn't need to be super ripped, he still works out to keep in shape. While he may not seem like it, RDJ is a self-proclaimed yogi. He's worked with yoga teacher Vinnie Marino, who's regularly led him through some power yoga flows. It's no secret that Robert Downey Jr. has been through his fair share of personal issues, dealing with alcoholism and drug use, but he credits part of his sobriety to yoga. It's improved his health and well-being, keeping him on the straight and narrow. While yoga isn't the most exciting workout, it has a huge mental component as well as keeping the body loose and improving strength and flexibility. It must have helped him in the fight against Thanos and, more importantly, his inner demons. Now, a lot of people don't mind going to the gym, but the problem is they get bored of it too quickly, since it can become monotonous to work out alone day in and day out. That's why you see a lot of people using the buddy system and working out with a friend. It turns going to the gym into a social event. This is exactly what Scarlett Johansson did to get into amazing shape to play Black Widow. There's no denying that ScarJo is the perfect actress to play Black Widow. She's constantly working out and nothing had to change for her role as Black Widow. Well, at least not too much. Who's her friend that she'd bring with her for her workouts? None other than Sebastian Stan, who plays Bucky Barnes in the MCU. To spruce up her workout, she'd sometimes join Sebastian and his trainer to prepare for a shoot. Sebastian Stan is very close to his personal trainer, Don Saladino. It's safe to say that they're bros, with Stan saying Saladino is a big reason why he's in such good shape for his role as the Winter Soldier, and they're still working together to this day. Stan loves Don just as much as Bucky loves Steve. It brings a tear to our eye. The key to Stan's workout routine is to keep it heavy. While most bodybuilding workouts center around lifting lighter weights with a lot of reps, Stan and Saladino love to do big, bulky lifts in their workouts with much lower reps. Clearly it got the job done because Stan is looking killer as the Winter Soldier, the White Wolf, Bucky Barnes, Steve Rogers' bestie, or whatever he goes by now in the MCU. The actors we saw in Avengers Endgame have been a part of the MCU for at least a couple of years, but Brie Larson, not so much. She hasn't played a superhero role or any role that required her to get insanely fit at any point in her acting career. Yet it's as if she's been preparing for the role of Captain Marvel her entire life. She only started training for the role when Infinity War was released, which, if our math is correct, means she only trained for 9 months to get absolutely ripped to play Captain Marvel. That is beyond incredible. Man, if only we had someone to cook super healthy meals for us and keep us on a strict workout routine, maybe we'd be in incredible shape too. Seriously though, Brie Larson deserves so much credit for going through the ringer to be the perfect actress to play Captain Marvel. When we first saw Tom Holland play our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in Captain America: Civil War, we were beyond excited. This is one of the fan-favorite characters in all of comics, and he was finally in the MCU. We were also happy that we got a teenage Spider-Man, who's super relatable for the MCU's younger audiences. While Tom Holland may be one of the youngest actors in the MCU lineup, he's still an adult and more capable of kicking some serious butt. Holland didn't just want to look good as Spider-Man, he wanted to look great. So he got into the ring at a boxing gym. He's been boxing for a few years now, and it definitely helps when it comes to fight choreography. This all means that those abs are real, and he was actually involved in those fight scenes because he knows how to throw a punch, or 2, or 3. Chadwick Boseman sounds like the name of some super posh British dude, but nope, it's the name of a badass actor who plays the Black Panther in the MCU. In most interviews involving superhero movies, the questions seem to always revolve around workout and staying in shape, which is why it was refreshing to see Boseman not explain every step of his workout regimen in great detail. Since Black Panther and Infinity War were both shot around the same time, Boseman's routine was essentially doubled as he prepared for both movies. Finally, he ended up opening up a little bit about what he did to get in shape, but remained coy. He mainly focused on strength and flexibility training and mentioned that he might be covering up a little bit of his workout. Look, Chadwick, it's not embarrassing to do yoga. Robert Downey Jr. does it all the time. No need to be shy, buddy. If you think getting fit only involves constantly working out 3 times a day, you'd be wrong, but not completely wrong. While exercise is important, it's not everything. What you put in your body is just as important, and Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Scarlet Witch in the MCU, made this perfectly clear. Her nutritionist, Philip Goglia, has openly discussed Olsen's fitness goals for the future, and she's really focused on body composition. This means she had to completely restructure her diet. She eliminated gluten, dairy, and yeast completely, and even started having 7 to 8 meals a day, consisting of fruits, vegetables, chicken, and fish for protein. We don't know how she does it without a single cheat day, huh? We'd be dying to scarf down a whole pizza after just a few days on this diet, but clearly, some people have stronger wills than we do. Dave Bautista has always been an animal. In fact, the Animal was his nickname in the WWE because he was insanely powerful, capable of throwing full-grown men around the ring like it was a walk in the park. We sure he could still do it to this day, but he's retired now and we'll definitely miss seeing him go toe-to-toe with the best in the business in the ring. Now, to most MCU fans, Bautista is known for his role as Drax the Destroyer, who's very good at making himself invisible by just standing still. According to Bautista, it was Josh Brolin who inspired him to train even harder for his role as Drax. Brolin went from an average build to absolutely jacked, which made Bautista go from ripped to super insanely shredded ripped, we guess. We just love seeing friends inspire each other to get better. It's amazing. Zoe Saldana has always been in good shape, so she really didn't need to change too much for her role as Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy. Since she was already in incredible shape, she decided to keep her current workout routine going, but just add a little bit more spice to it. She spent countless hours each and every day working on her stamina and endurance, so she could kick some serious butt. This means Saldana needed to work for long hours on set, which is why she and her trainer decided to focus on cardio and strength training, especially building up her core, since it's vital to most of the crazy moves she has to pull off. This also meant, just like Elizabeth Olsen, she had to follow a very strict diet made up of mostly plant-based food with no added sugar and very little carbs. That requires tremendous dedication. Karen Gillan has done a lot of work to prepare for her role as Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. Her workouts were focused on building muscle, since she's never done any strength training before being cast as Nebula, so they involve squats, barbell deadlifts, and other weightlifting exercises. She also continued to work on her cardio by running and cycling, so she could make it through those long days on set. Then she started doing some martial arts training. She really had to start from scratch and learn how to fight since she never did any of it before. Lastly, she changed her diet and began to drink protein shakes, apples, and almond butter to help her build up muscle she needed to play Nebula. Gillian pulled out all the stops to truly become Thanos' least favorite daughter, and it all shows on screen. She's a brilliant Nebula. Sticking with the Guardians of the Galaxy, we have Mantis, played by Pom Klementieff. While the Mantis we got in the MCU is an extremely watered-down version of the comic book one, Pom still trained as if she was going to be the badass Mantis from the comics, and we commend her for that. Pom Klementieff already learned how to box for her role in the Old Boy remake in 2013. That also starred Josh Brolin, but completely flopped at the box office. Anyway, on top of that, she has a purple belt in Taekwondo and trained multiple days for months before the shoot with coaches and fight choreographers so she could really get that Mantis physicality down pat, even if she didn't use it all that much. Man, we really wish we got the comic book Mantis, but we still love some comic relief Mantis. Paul Rudd just doesn't age, which is something he has in common with Rob Lowe and John Stamos. But those two aren't MCU actors. If you remember that shirtless scene in Ant-Man, then you know that Paul Rudd is in really good shape. In fact, he's in the best shape of his life, and he's in his 50s now. The guy legit looks like he's still in his early 30s. He's probably immortal. What's his secret? Well, according to him, if you eliminate everything fun in your life, which we assume means junk food, binge-watching superhero movies, or a combination of the two, then you can get in good enough shape to play a superhero in the MCU. Rudd cut out all carbs, red meat, and sugar from his diet, and decided to pack in the protein. We also assume he hit the gym fairly often, because those abs just don't come out because you eat well. Evangeline Lilly is another MCU actress who worked her butt off to get in shape to play the Wasp. While a lot of people complained about her not being used properly in the first Ant-Man movie, Marvel Studios held nothing back with the Wasp in Ant-Man and the Wasp, giving a female hero equal billing to a male one for the first time in MCU history. Lilly doesn't count calories, but she's very careful for what she puts in her body. If she can't pronounce it, she won't eat it. It's as simple as that. If we didn't eat things we couldn't pronounce, well, we'd never eat, and we'd probably spend too much time reading ingredients. As well as her strict diet, Lilly focuses on proving her strength, endurance, and flexibility, but she didn't do it through yoga. Instead, she went through a lot of stunt and fight training so she could hold her own during shooting. Michael B. Jordan is known for taking roles that really challenge him physically. Did you see how he looked in Creed? The guy must have 0% body fat. Sure, that's technically impossible, but we can exaggerate from time to time. To play Eric Killmonger in Black Panther, Jordan ate 6 meals a day and worked out 3 times a day. As you can tell, he's extremely dedicated to getting in the best shape possible. That means drinking 1.5 gallons of water per day and having a super clean diet rich in protein, vegetables, and a whole lot of rice. Jordan's workouts focus on conditioning and bodybuilding, meaning a lot of running and weights, and even more weights. It's a shame Killmonger only lasted 1 movie. He was easily one of the best MCU villains of all time. We hope at least one of our theories about him coming back is true. Sticking with Black Panther characters, we have Denai Guerrera, who plays Okoye. You know, the one who said there was an earthquake off the coast of Wakanda in Avengers Endgame? So we came up with a really believable theory about how it was foreshadowing Namor. Yeah, that one. Anyway, we got a little sidetracked there. Guerrera is one of the most interesting workout routines out there. She learned how to use a sword. Now, this might not be surprising to all you Walking Dead fans out there, since Guerrera plays Michonne, a very skilled swordswoman on the show. While Okoye doesn't use a katana in the MCU, Guerrera found that strength training really helped her prepare for taking on the character in Black Panther. After seeing how amazing Okoye was in the movie, we'd say that training definitely paid off. We do not want to mess with her, that's for sure. While Nakia has only appeared in Black Panther and is yet to be seen in any other MCU films, that doesn't mean that Lupita Nyong'o slocked off when it came to getting in shape for her role. In fact, it was the exact opposite. She put tons of work in getting into shape, spending hours and hours a day into the gym, before moving on to just 2 hours a day after gaining some muscle. That sounds grueling, but she absolutely loved every second of it. Then again, Nyong'o took part in a 6-week boot camp before they started filming, gaining strength, stamina, and flexibility so she could do all the stunts required of her. The boot camp definitely worked because, supposedly, Lupita couldn't fit into her clothes when she went home for Christmas. Luckily, this is the one time not fitting into your clothes is actually the good thing. To this day, she continues to train hard and put on muscle. For our last entry, we're going to talk about Thanos. We mean Josh Brolin, who plays Thanos. He really worked hard to become a 10-foot-tall, 1,000-pound Titan. It totally wasn't CG or anything like that. Seriously though, just because Thanos was mostly CG doesn't mean Brolin didn't get in shape for the role. He got ripped, and it showed for his role in Cable in Deadpool 2. He immediately lowered his carbs, getting rid of sugar, bread, and pasta. No pasta? That's impossible! For his workout, Brolin went to the famous Gold's Gym, where he performed drop sets and other exercises with his trainer, Justin David Lovato. He's really dedicated himself to looking good, but his role as Thanos came with a price. Now every time someone looks at him, they see Thanos, and that must be tough to deal with on a daily basis. Just kidding. We're sure he loves it. With Phase 3 of the MCU coming to a close with Spider-Man Far From Home, have you ever wondered how many movies each of your favorite MCU actors have left on their contracts? We all know Marvel prefers multi-film contracts over multi-year contracts, so what exactly does this mean for our favorite MCU actors? We'll let you in on which actors we know are still under contract and other actors whose futures in the MCU are looking much more mysterious. Robert Downey Jr. The first superhero that introduced us to what would become the MCU was Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. It was a very risky decision to cast Downey Jr. at the time back in 2008, but it ended up becoming a masterstroke, and we can't even imagine anyone else playing Tony Stark. Given his incredibly emotional send-off in Avengers Endgame, it looks like it's truly the end of the road for Robert Downey Jr. in the MCU. Well, unless he returns as a hologram or something. Maybe a Force ghost? I don't know. Either way, we'll never forget what you did for us, RDJ. From all of us here at CBR, we love you 3000. Chris Evans. Even Chris Evans' Captain America had something of a send-off in Avengers Endgame when he ended up living his life with Peggy when returning the Infinity Stones at the end of the movie, coming back to the present much older than he was before. Oh, and he essentially retired by giving his shield to Sam Wilson, aka Falcon. Now, it's pretty well documented that Chris Evans is interested in leaving the MCU to focus on directing instead, even though he's speaking more and more about the future of Steve Rogers in the MCU lately. That being said, Endgame was the perfect end for Cap, and it's the perfect time for Chris Evans to begin his film directing career. Give him a job, Marvel! Chris Hemsworth. While Chris Hemsworth didn't appear in Captain America Civil War, which was surprising to a lot of people, Thor is still one of the most popular characters in the MCU. Even though his first 2 movies weren't the greatest, Ragnarok essentially revived the character, and Infinity War turned him into one of the big 3 Avengers, along with Iron Man and Captain America. It's definitely not the end for Chris Hemsworth in the MCU. While he has no confirmed upcoming films, the ending of Endgame made it pretty clear that he's going to be involved in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Hemsworth also said he'd be interested in doing a Thor 4, especially if director Taika Waititi is at the helm. Mark Ruffalo. Like most MCU stars, Mark Ruffalo was signed to a 6-film deal. He's made it perfectly clear that it's a deal he's on because, well, it's Mark Ruffalo. He's a walking spoiler factory like Tom Holland, so we're not surprised something like that slipped. Seeing as cameos don't count as one of the 6 films, Ruffalo still has 2 films left on his contract, which puts him in a unique position. He's one of the few OG Avengers who's expected to make multiple appearances in Phase 4. This is great news since we love the Hulk, especially Professor Hulk, but don't expect a solo movie anytime soon. Universal! Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson's contract is much more mysterious than Mark Ruffalo's because she's just a little more tight-lipped than him. and she's a spy, you know. We saw Black Widow sacrifice herself for the Soul Stone in Avengers Endgame, but that's not going to be the last time we see her in the MCU. As you're well aware of, Black Widow is getting her own solo movie in Phase 4, and it's about time. Supposedly filming is already underway in Norway, but if you're expecting Natasha Romanoff to somehow come back to life and become a major player in Phase 4, it's not going to happen. Her film is widely expected to be a prequel, and is most likely going to be the final MCU film she appears in. Jeremy Renner. Supposedly, Jeremy Renner has a standalone Hawkeye movie in his contract, but among all the Phase 4 rumors, a Hawkeye solo film isn't one of them. So it doesn't seem very close to happening. Seeing as the standard contract is 6 films, Renner has only been in 4 MCU films in a non-cameo capacity, which means he's still on the books for 2 more movies. Whatever the case may be, we know that the MCU has plans for Jeremy Renner with their Disney Plus streaming service. They're developing a Hawkeye TV show where we'll see him pass the mantle of Hawkeye down to Kate Bishop, just like in the comics. Tom Holland. Tom Holland has said himself that he signed a 6-film contract, which means he'll be a part of the MCU at least until the end of Phase 3. Why only until the end of Phase 3? Well, that's because of the whole rights issue with Sony over our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. We know Tom Holland is the star of both Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, but the third solo movie remains up in the air. It seems like Sony and Marvel will collaborate for a third Spider-Man movie, but after that, the future of the web-slinger is less certain. Chadwick Boseman. Black Panther was easily one of the best films of 2018, and Chadwick Boseman's portrayal of the titular hero was a big reason why. Supposedly, Black Panther is going to be a major player in Phase 4 of the MCU and beyond, and the rumor that Boseman signed a 5-film deal seems to support that. We know that Black Panther 2 is already confirmed, but we're sure we're going to see Boseman in more than one movie after Endgame. He might just be a part of the new Avengers team. We just hope we'll get to see Namor debut in Black Panther 2, since he's been hinted at for years. Brie Larson. Captain Marvel is the strongest character in the MCU, so it made sense for her to be played by Academy Award-winning actress Brie Larson. She made her MCU debut in Captain Marvel, but the movie was a prequel of sorts since it took place in the 90s, 3 whole decades before the events of Avengers Endgame. We guess Captain Marvel ages really slowly. Anyway, judging by the success of Captain Marvel, making over $1 billion at the box office, and how well received the character was, it's safe to say Marvel Studios is going to produce a Captain Marvel 2 sometime soon, and they have big plans for Brie Larson beyond just one more movie. Benedict Cumberbatch. It's confirmed that a second Doctor Strange movie is in the works, which means at least one more film in the MCU for the best name in Hollywood, Benedict Cumberbatch. But we doubt he's going to stop there. It's very likely that Cumberbatch signed the standard 6-movie contract, which means he'd still be on the books for 2 more movies after Doctor Strange 2. We hope to see more of Carl Mordo and the introduction of Nightmare in the sequel. Anthony Mackie. As we mentioned earlier, Anthony Mackie's Falcon had a great moment with Captain America at the end of Avengers Endgame, where Steve Rogers gives him his shield. It was a touching moment that has huge implications for both the big screen MCU and TV MCU. On the big screen, we're almost certain that Anthony Mackie has at least one more film left, since he's most likely signed a 6-film deal and has already appeared in 5 films. On TV, we know he's going to be starring in the Falcon and Winter Soldier Disney Plus series, so clearly he has a future in the MCU, since he even joked about signing a contract for over 50 movies. Elizabeth Olsen. While Elizabeth Olsen supposedly had a horrible audition to play Dany Targaryen in Game of Thrones, she fit right into the MCU as Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch. She quickly became a fan favorite, and that exchange with Thanos in Endgame turned her into a meme, so even the internet loves her. If she signed the standard 6-film contract, then she'd have 2 films left, since she's already been in 4 of them. We know she's going to be co-starring with Paul Bettany in WandaVision on the Disney Plus streaming service, so expect to see more of Wanda Maximoff moving forward, especially with the X-Men waiting to be introduced. Paul Rudd. Scott Lang managed to get out of the quantum realm thanks to a rat, who was the real hero of Endgame, let's be serious. But we're just happy he survived the film and reunited with his daughter Cassie and his girlfriend of sorts, Hope Van Dyne. We want to see more Paul Rudd, and it seems like that's exactly what we're going to get. Rudd has described his contract as a 3++ deal, which means he's probably going to stick around for a long time. Plus, there have been rumors of an Ant-Man 3, so it just makes even more sense for him to stay in the MCU. Evangeline Lilly. Here at CBR, we love the fact that the MCU is introducing more and more female superheroes into the fold. Evangeline Lilly's Wasp is one of those characters we absolutely love, especially since her suit has more bells and whistles than Scott's. And she sure loves to rub that in. She went into full superhero mode in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but quickly turned into nothing but dust after Thanos snapped his fingers. After her return in Endgame, we're sure the MCU has big plans for the Wasp, even though we have no information on any movie she's scheduled to appear in. Chris Pratt. Now it's time to take a look at the old Guardians of the Galaxy. Chris Pratt plays Star-Lord, the leader of the bunch. Well, maybe it's Thor now. So he's not the de facto leader, but he's one of them. Uh-oh, this could get ugly. After the release of the first Guardians movie, Pratt told GQ that he signed up for 2 more Guardians plus another couple. Since then, he's already appeared in Guardians 2, Infinity War, and Endgame, which means he has 1 more Guardians movie left in his contract. After the whole will he won't he direct Guardians 3 ordeal with James Gunn, the director is at the helm, and we expect to see all the Guardians of the Galaxy in that movie. Dave Bautista. Last but certainly not least, let's talk about Dave Bautista and his role as Drax the Destroyer. When James Gunn got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, he was very vocal about his displeasure in regards to the decision. Bautista said he was done playing Drax in the MCU unless Gunn came back, and was very adamant about that decision. Now that James Gunn is back at the helm, we expect Bautista to make an appearance in Guardians 3. He retired from wrestling for good, so his schedule should be pretty much open moving forward.
You may think that once a film is done shooting, the cast members get their pick of the props that were used on set, but sadly that's not the case. Of course, that didn't prevent some actors from getting their hands on some props that weren't supposed to leave the movie set. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with CBR and ring that bell to become a part of our notification squad so you never miss a video. This video is sponsored by Shady Agents, a social deduction game created by our friends at the Just Kidding Network, where you get to tell juicy stories about each other. Support their Kickstarter by clicking the link in the description below, and stay tuned until the end of the video where we'll tell you more about this game. Without further ado, here are some props that actors stole from their movie sets.
See? Groot's the only one of you who has a clue.
Chris Pratt. As you guys may already know by now, Chris Pratt is just a genuine nice guy. But he does have a dark side, as he stole Star-Lord's jacket from the set of Guardians of the Galaxy. For a good cause. He said, "I stole the jacket and some of the wardrobe so that if this movie comes out and does what everyone hopes it can, I can follow the example of someone, say like Russell Wilson, and go visit kids. If it was a big enough movie to where it would mean something to a kid who's sick in the hospital for Peter Quill or Star-Lord to come visit them, I'll do that." This is the best possible reason to steal a movie prop.
Well, here I am.
Ben Affleck. At the end of filming Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, director Zack Snyder gave the cast some gifts from the set. Ben Affleck was given a grappling hook, but it turns out he already stole himself a gift. He said, "Oh, absolutely. I straight up stole a Batarang. I put it in my pocket thinking I had earned it. The props guy came to come get it and I said no. I thought I had a kind of movie star pass for that kind of thing. I stayed strong and flew off to LA with it." The props guy was super pissed. In an unlikely twist, Affleck may have played the villain here.
Oh, I do. I know it. Don't tell me.
Andrew Garfield. It's no secret that Andrew Garfield left the Amazing Spider-Man on bad terms with the higher-ups, but there might be more to the story than we've been told. It's possible that Garfield may have worn out his welcome when it was discovered he stole a Spider-Man suit. Well, it makes sense. You can't have someone on set that you can't even trust with the props. He admitted to his evil in an interview, stating, "I may have stolen one and it may be in my luggage. It may be in my hotel room luggage. It may even be in my backpack in the car. This is just one more wrinkle in the Spider-Man saga. We know Tom Holland would never do such a thing." Move! Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel Radcliffe has fought many demons in his life, but deep down he's a nice person. That being said, his dark side still comes out every once in a while. After filming was complete on the Harry Potter films, Radcliffe went and stole not one pair of Harry Potter's glasses, but 2. The thing is, he wasn't the only thief on the set either. Rupert Grint stole the number 4 off the Dursley house's door, which is crazy considering it's not a prop but a real house. Grint basically just vandalized someone's house for his own personal gain. Even Emma Watson got in on the fun. She went full kleptomaniac on set, stealing anything within reach, including a cloak, a time turner, Hermione's wand. You're a thief, Harry!
I'm Brock Landers, so I'm gonna be nice.
Mark Wahlberg. This is a weird one, ladies and gentlemen. When Boogie Nights was finished, Mark Wahlberg took his character Dirk Diggler's prosthetic you-know-what home with him. That's right. He stole a fake donger from the set and brought it home. The actor says, "I used to keep it in my desk drawer and I'd take it out and slap my friends in the face with it. I don't keep many things from my movies, but that just seemed to have personal significance. It seems like he put it to good use." He also suggested he might auction it off for charity, so he's not a heartless thief after all.
This is Willie. One-Eye Willie.
Sean Astin. Contrary to popular belief, Sean Astin wasn't given One-Eyed Willie's treasure map from the Goonies as a gift. As he puts it, "I don't believe we were formally gifted these items, but I remember being in possession of it." Those aren't the words of someone who got it as a gift. Either way, the story goes that his mom threw out the map by accident after Astin moved out of their home. When he moved, he only moved his body, not his belongings, so when his mom sold the house, it's possible his stuff got sold with it. He said, "Maybe my mom has it and she doesn't know where it is. Maybe one of my friends took it from my room. Who knows? That means it might still be around somewhere." The hunt begins.
Y'all been coming up here for years trying to steal our routines.
Gabrielle Union. Do you remember the cheerleader outfits from Bring It On? Yeah, we know, it's a stupid question. Of course you do! Well, this is an interesting one because Gabrielle Union claims that after the shoot, she had a replica made, just for fun. Or not. Then, not so long ago, there was a screen-used Gabrielle Union cheerleader outfit that went to auction. It does seem a little curious when you put these stories side by side. It's just a bit suspicious. Does Union have a prop-stealing side business going? Maybe by had a replica made, Union meant stole that cheerleader outfit. It really makes you wonder. Honestly, we're sure Union can still fit into the outfit today.
Oh my god.
Dakota Johnson. You would think stars would only steal items that they can't find anywhere else, but that's not always the case. Instead of going out and doing some shopping for herself, Dakota Johnson, after finishing up with 50 Shades of Grey, decided to steal a bunch of underwear from the set. We don't know exactly what underwear she took because we're not creeps, but she claims they were comfortable, so that's a great reason to take them in our book. When asked what else she stole from the set, Johnson admitted, "I do have a flogger in my house. It's in the garage with dust. Whoever this dust guy is, we're sure he's not a very clean fellow." Kristen Stewart. When asked if she took anything from the set of Twilight, Kristen Stewart said that she took a few things. More specifically, she said, "I kept the rings. The rings are really important to me. Her mother gives Bella the moon ring in the beginning, and it fully and completely reminds me of the director Catherine Hardwicke every time I look at it. It's also really weird that she kept the engagement ring that Robert Pattinson's character gave her considering they've split. It's very odd, but show us something that isn't weird about Stewart and we'll show you a rotten liar. Robert Pattinson has also admitted to stealing panties from the set, so yeah, we don't even know if there were men's or women's either.
You don't suppose I could have a little snack?
James Caan. If you've ever seen Misery, you know there are really only two props from the set that anyone would recognize: the typewriter and the sledgehammer. Coincidentally, both of these props went missing from the set after filming. Rumor has it that Kathy Bates took the famous sledgehammer from the hobbling scene, and she's said to be the only one who knows where it is. James Caan is more open about his taking of the typewriter, wanting to have a little keepsake from his time shooting the film. He just forgot to ask anyone if he could take it. It's no big deal, they probably wouldn't mind anyway. Even back in 1990 when the film came out, no one was using typewriters anymore.
We didn't exactly believe your story, Miss O'Shaughnessy. We believed you $200.
Elisha Cook Jr. John Constant, the owner of John's Grill in San Francisco, wanted to find one of the Maltese Falcon statues used in the famous 1941 film The Maltese Falcon. He sent a private investigator out to track one down, but they had no luck. There were supposedly only 4 made, but apparently no one had access to one. Then, one magical day, Elisha Cook Jr., the actor who played the role of Wilmer the Gunsel in the film, approached Constant with his own personal signed statue. It was a kind gesture, so Constant proudly showcased the statue in his restaurant. Until someone robbed it. Did someone who worked on set steal it back? No one knows, but Constant should hire another private investigator regardless.
A white point star is only found on one planet. Gallifrey.
David Tennant. Well, it might not technically be a movie set, but there have been several Doctor Who movies, so it still counts. Plus, David Tennant's last episode of Doctor Who, The End of Time Before He Came Back, was basically a movie anyway. After filming, Tennant refused to walk away empty-handed. When he was asked if he was able to take something from the set of the show, he replied, "You're not allowed. You really aren't allowed." Still, that clearly wasn't enough to stop him. He ended up stealing his character's famed sonic screwdriver. I put it in a secure location because I suddenly got worried my house would get burgled and I'd lose it. So I've locked it up somewhere. Don't get any ideas, people.
I have no memory of this place.
Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen was given most of the props he has from playing Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. He has Gandalf's hat and sword that were given as gifts, and a few other things he has as keepsakes. But there is one thing that he just stole and never owned up to it. "I've got the keys to Bag End," he said happily in an interview with Total Film magazine. And I've got some knives and forks. I know Peter Jackson was saying, "We've lost the keys to Bag End," and I had to keep very quiet. McKellen may seem like a sweet man, but he has a dark side, that's for certain. We guess no one was there to shout, "You shall not steal!"
That's what scares me. This is clearly a military operation.
Simon Pegg. Having acted on a Star Trek film in the past, Simon Pegg knew the procedure when it came to props. On the first film, every day we'd hand back our badge, and I had a Starfleet ring, communicator, phaser. You'd hand it in to an armed guy at the end of the day before you could leave the set, he said. So obviously, he couldn't take anything. When it came time for his second go on Star Trek Into the Darkness, Pegg used his experience from Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and his knowledge of the props return process to steal something. Well, not really. He just took his badge. We mean, it's really nice, but it's just a badge. Pegg needs to step up his thief game.
Oh, hello.
Ryan Reynolds. Not to be outdone by Andrew Garfield, Ryan Reynolds also felt the need to steal his character's suit after filming was finished on Deadpool. Surprisingly, Reynolds was not shy about owning up to his theft, saying, "I loved wearing it and I have run away with one." I'll probably get into trouble for saying that, but I've waited 10 years to do this movie, so I'm leaving with a bleeping suit. He didn't actually say bleeping because, as you know, he's the merc with a mouth, so it was more R-rated like his movie. Reynolds also stole the Green Lantern's ring, but no one even noticed it was missing. We guess they just didn't care. Either way, at least Reynolds admits to what he did.
You might want to look away for this.
Well, there you have it. Do you know of any other actors who stole from the set? Are you excited to play shady agents? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to CBR to keep up to date with all of our videos. Thanks for watching.